Hi, everyone. Good morning or afternoon or evening, depending on where you are. Hello, Anel. Great to see you. So I'm just going to give 2 minutes for other people to join as well, and then we're going to get started with the panel. Great. Anel, I see that you are a Minerva student.
Indeed, I am.
Great. M26. Yeah, I was going to ask you to put and you're also, did you also are you also majoring in natural sciences?
Yes, indeed. I'm here to
Perfect.
speak more about my experiences as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining us. So we have me as a facilitator, and then Alexia and you as our participants. Okay. All right, we have a couple of people joining. That's awesome. We're gonna have time for Q&A at the end, but if anyone has questions at any point, feel free to put them in the chat, and then that way we can already answer them as we go. Um, so first, I'd like to introduce the natural sciences major at Minerva University. So at Minerva, students have the option to choose from 5 different schools what they want to major in, and one of them is natural sciences. It's the one that I majored in. Um, in the natural sciences major, Minerva hopes that students will merge scientific reasoning, research, and interdisciplinary thinking to solve pressing challenges across many fields. We have biology, chemistry, physics, biotechnology. Um, I've seen students studying astronomy. So we have many different options that students can focus on within the natural sciences major. Um, we want students to become innovative leaders in scientific and technological organizations, students who'd like to become PhD students in the future for natural sciences areas, or even doctors, practitioners. The natural sciences major is really a good place for you if you want to develop new technologies or to work with new technologies that intersect there's natural sciences, health sciences. Yeah. And yeah, let's get this started. So at Minerva, for those of you who don't know, students live in 5 to 7 different countries, depending on your global rotation. Sometimes you're going to be moving every year or every semester. That means that laboratory work, which is very important to people who want to study natural sciences, happens a little differently at Minerva, and we're going to cover that as well in our meeting today, in our conversation today. So I would love to ask both of our panelists today, Alexia and Anel, what has inspired you to pursue natural sciences at Minerva, a university that does not use traditional labs? Curious to hear from you.
Okay, I can start. Um, yeah, for me it was a very I guess drastic decision. In during high school, I was preparing actually to go to medical school back home in Romania, and I literally pivoted like in my last year while I was preparing. I was like, I don't think I want to like settle down yet. I don't think I want to. I don't even know who I am as a person. Like I'm only 18. Like why am I going and doing like a career that requires so much? So I actually wanted to kind of like gain this broader perspective of the world and of people and of myself. So that's why I chose Minerva first, because it can still give me the skills necessary to go and become a doctor in the future, but at the same time, it gives me skills that nothing can replace them. Like no textbooks can replace those skills when it comes to like understanding people, understanding cultures, understanding the world, and being able to use information from different fields and merge them together in order to, serve people. So that was the reasoning why I came to Minerva. It was kind of joined. First of all, I want to have a more broader education and see if the natural science field or maybe something else related to medicine would be useful for me or even something other than higher than that. I was open to kind of like experiment and see and kind of like discover myself before I wanted to like go and pursue a career. And yeah, so far it's really interesting. I feel like I had a very narrow view of science before I joined Minerva, and now I am I can say that I have more questions than answer now, but at the same time I feel like I got to like widen my perspective over yeah, what this field is like and then what I want to do in the future. What about you, Anna? What was your motivation to come Minerva?
So when I was in high school, I was really motivated by astrophysics or astronomy in general. And so when I was coming to Minerva, that was still kind of my intention. But when Minerva cornerstone courses, and those are the courses that we're taking in our first year, started, they're very interdisciplinary. They're covering a broad topic of things. And I realized, why would I limit myself to one very specific thing? And so I decided I would choose my majors based on curiosity and curiosity only. And admittedly, this was like a mental privilege for me to like say, okay, this is not because I'm choosing a career, this is not because I'm choosing something that will be super long lasting, but I know this is what I'm interested in right now. And when I was looking at the Minerva list, the things that popped out to me were natural sciences, specifically matter and energy, which is our concentration for physics, and arts and humanities, arts and literature as a concentration. So these are two very different things. I wasn't planning on embarking on this double major journey per se, but I'm very happy now that I'm here because I think it has gifted me the best of both worlds in a deep way. And knowing and understanding the more technical computer science, like formula-based understanding of the world, and at the same time critiquing it and seeing it through a completely different lens with arts and literature has been a very rewarding experience.
I love this. When I was at Minerva, I'm already an alumna and I graduated in 2019. And when I was there, I had a couple of peers also studying natural sciences who were more interested in actually science education or science literature, which I think is beautiful. It's, one of the reasons why Minerva stands out as a liberal arts and sciences model is exactly because it allows you to mix these disciplines. And I noticed that in both of your answers. So that's great. In that sense, I would love to also share, in my case, what brought me to the natural sciences major at Minerva, even though I knew it wouldn't have a traditional lab that I could go and intern or do an assistantship every single semester like I would in a traditional school, was exactly because of what you described, the interdisciplinarity. At a traditional university, even with a traditional lab, it would be like always kind of like narrowed down to the components, specific labs. And Minerva allows you to really broaden your horizons. And coming from a country, I'm from Brazil, and feel free to also share where the two of you are from. I believe Alexa said she's from Romania. Um, and we have a very traditional, rigid model of education here that wouldn't allow for this multitude of topics. So that's great. And Anel is from Kazakhstan. That's awesome. So we have a big, diverse pool here. Curious to know if there is a course or an experiment that stands out as a turning point in your science education during your scientific learning at Minerva.
Okay, I'll start this time and then Alexia can take over. Actually, for me, I mean, again, I was so set on physics, kind of because I thought that that would be the thing that would lead me to astrophysics. And then I took the course on geology, and I was surprised myself so much because I enjoyed it so deeply. And the whole thing of understanding phenomena that happen on Earth, but also in connection to the phenomena that happen on a universe level, made me feel so excited. I think if I had the choice, I would add another concentration. I would do geology in addition to the physics track, just because it truly is so amazing. There's so much to learn. And I mean this for every track in general, but I think having that opportunity, because so we do core courses and then we do concentration courses at Minerva, the broadening of one's skill set within natural sciences is so powerful as well, because you can adjust and see and feel different perspectives and yeah, really integrate yourself into it for that time being while you're taking the course. That's me. Alexia, what about you?
It's actually really funny because I had the same idea in mind. I think we took the same course with Gail last semester. And yeah, this course is just I came to the course with the assumption that okay, this is not necessarily related to what I want to do. I want to study like humans and biology and chemistry. That was my main focus. But at the same time, the core courses are like and also like very broad. And I was like, okay, what are like there's no I feel like there's no tangency between this geology course and then what I want to do in the future. But at the same time, I came to the course and like I think it was one of my favorite courses as well, just because of the perspective that puts you into like I now look at a mountain, I'm like, oh my God, like I have so much gratitude and so much I'm so in awe by how like we got here and then mountains got here and how like things evolve and how water got on Earth. So I just like that course really opened my mind to kind of understand science more deeply rather than just looking at it only from a textbook perspective. And just to add on an else answer so I can bring something new. I think foundational courses in the first year when we call them um, cornerstones, there was one that was called formal analysis, and I didn't do any math in high school, so this one is a bit of a mathy like logics kind of course, and I can see that that was kind of like the course that opened me to math and to computer science, and that was the course that made me choose a double major in natural science and computer science because it was just the professors taught it so well, and it made me realize it's more than just formulas and calculations and just memorizing stuff. It's about actually critical thinking and being able to use your logical skills in order to like gain something. So yeah, I feel like each course kind of like brings a new perspective to my field, but also to myself as a human.
I will message Professor Gale after this conversation to let her know that she's been inspiring a lot of us in the natural sciences. I think every student who takes natural sciences might end up taking a course with Professor Gale and start loving rocks and other geological components of the earth. I love that. And in answering this question myself, also, I think it was also her class, her geology class that I took in my second year that I added a source in one of my assignments that was published in the Journal of Creationism. So I think it was like a biblical or religious publication, and I did not even pay attention to it. I mean, I was a freshman, no, I was a sophomore, so I had barely started my scientific professional education, and she called me out because it's her job, right? As a professor, she was like, "Hey, this is not an appropriate source, by the way." And that's when I was like, oh, right. So appropriate sources and, standing on the shoulder of giants is really what science is about. And we need to be mindful of where we get our information from. So um, I love that. My next question for the two of you is how do you think the global rotation model influences the way you see environmental or health issues? I know that maybe you're not studying this within natural sciences specifically, maybe you're more astrophysics or related topics, but it's still very pressing for a natural sciences major to notice this. And if you'd like to start answering this question by saying which current rotation study you are right now and which have you already been through, that would also be great for or the people who are here with us have an idea of our global experience.
Okay, I'll start. Right now I'm in Buenos Aires, Argentina. I'm in my third year, so this is my fourth rotation city. I started my journey in San Francisco like everyone else. I was there for 2 semesters, and then in my second year I was in Taiwan, and then in South Korea, in Seoul. And to answer the question about how basically the rotation cities kind of like informed the way I see the environment or health. I feel like it brought me a new perspective on like health disparities in different locations. Like each part of the world is dealing with different stuff, which I wouldn't have ever thought about if I didn't live in that places. For example, in Taiwan, it was the first time I got to experience typhoons or I don't know, see like this kind of like subtropical environment, and I realized that they have different problems and the way that environment is affecting people is different. So I feel like it really, again, like maybe understand health at a deeper level and understand people coming from different places and how the environment or their lifestyle or their culture might affect their health. And also at the same time, our civic projects, which allows us to basically work with people or labs or businesses from those places, kind of like opened my eyes to how people are doing education and they're doing science in different places. So I got to see kind of like the work culture or like the scientific culture in Taiwan, in Korea, in Buenos Aires now. So I feel like this is really kind of like made me understand more what type of lab maybe I want to go into in the future, or what projects I'm interested in, or really like where I want to like settle down. What about you, Anel?
That's such a beautiful answer. I really love that. So I'm currently based in Taipei, Taiwan. This is my fifth rotation city. I'm in my final year. I was actually thinking, well, let me ask a question to you all. Does anybody here like going on random rabbit holes, like research rabbit holes of a very specific topic, just like in their free time? Put some kind of like thumbs up or hands up. Beautiful. Thank you, Adam.
Adam is into it.
We
Me
love
too.
it. So me too. I'm one of those people who likes to do that. And Minerva has provided me with such a cool way of doing that through location-based assignments. In every place, we have a chance for every class to do something that is somehow related to the location. And this applies to both the natural sciences and arts and humanities. But this is something I don't take for granted, because now I can dive into a very specific issue, whether it be within the general natural habitat for animals or oceans rising in San Francisco, things that would be applicable to the specific place where I am in, and seeing how that connects to the curriculum. It definitely, I think, makes me more well-rounded in how I perceive the world and understand the various issues that are around us. Because if you don't place yourself, kind of like what Alexia was saying, like if you don't place yourself in conditions where you experience something that's not typical for you, you wouldn't realize what it means to be living through those conditions and what kinds of effects it can have. So I think when we're speaking about health or environment, it's really important to experience this. Even experiencing different health systems in different countries, like you see and understand so much more than if you would have just read it on a piece of paper, by actually like living, by having these lived experiences.
Awesome. Oh, I love both of those answers. That's great. And I completely agree. I think we talk a lot about, I mean, one of the main concerns of people applying to Minerva for the natural sciences major is exactly like, well, I'm not going to have access to the same lab every single semester because I'm always moving. You're going to have access to many other things with these differences in countries. So that's really great. Um, I believe you have already touched on this, both of you, but I think this is an interesting question that nevertheless, which is if you had the opportunities to collaborate across different scientific disciplines. So like for example, I can even answer that myself first, just to give an example. Um, when I was doing the natural sciences major, I was specifically interested in food systems from farm to table. And in my home country, in Brazil, usually you're going to have a major that's nutrition, a different major that's agriculture, and a different major that's public policy, and a different major that's like food production and packaging. And it was great to mix all of these fields, all of these areas in a customized concentration that I did in the natural sciences major, which was to explore all of this related to food, both the health aspect of food, also the micro molecular aspect of food as well, the policy implications of eating worldwide and hunger. So, you know, it was interesting to bridge all of this within natural sciences. I'm curious to hear your experiences, also maybe bridging different fields within our major.
For sure. I mean, again, following up for the random rabbit holes, it's so easy to customize what you're doing in assignments at Minerva, and that's what makes it really unique. And as much as you can go like into very much like depth territory, or sorry, breadth territory, you can also go into depth territory. And for me, for instance, with my interest in astronomy, like the chemistry paper that I wrote as the final was about giants, like gas giants, and how that related to the chemistry concepts we had studied. Or for the geology class, for instance, towards the end, I was able to connect it to analysis of the geology of the moon. And that way, it not only has that very direct application with what we talked about, which of course was mostly about Earth and geology, but now this is broadened to what my interest is, while also transcending the specific disciplines in which we are taught it. And having that freedom is honestly very liberating because you can really explore what you want to explore. And you can, most of the time, choose your topics really broadly, depending on what you're interested in. That to me is definitely an asset of natural sciences at Minerva.
In my case, like I said, I'm a double major, so I take mostly courses like related to like computer science and natural science. And I really love like kind of like bridging the kind of like the technical skills that the computer science degree is giving me with the natural science aspect. So I feel like it's almost like a superpower whenever I have like civic projects and I go out and I have a I do like some like kind of experiment in the lab, but at the same time I also have the power to like do statistical uh analysis and be able to like code stuff or like just create like I don't know a program that would help efficient like make things more efficient in the lab. So it really like I really love having these technical skills because it kind of like helps me um see science from also a more efficient perspective. So I at first I wasn't sure how this will kind of match, but now going out in the world, and I think it's such an interesting uh such an interesting place to be where you have like such broad skills that you can actually be able to like kind of like juggle around with because it makes you a more employable but a more interesting and a more I guess useful person in any room you would be.
Great. I love the employability aspect already being brought up. We have a couple of questions about that coming up. Um, Tell us about a location-based research or data collection project that you worked on.
I already have one in mind, but I think, unfortunately, or maybe thankfully, I will tie it back to geology class. It really left an imprint on me, you guys. But yeah, again, location-based assignments are such a highlight for me at Minerva. I really, really appreciate the fact that we get to do this. Like for arts and humanities, it would be something like going into the museum and choosing a work that you want to analyze. For natural sciences, I went on a trip to the mountains of Patagonia in Argentina, and I got to write a paper on this. How cool is that? Like I saw things with my eyes, I took pretty pictures of that, and then I come back to my laptop and I'm able to type up a thing about like what these rocks actually are that I saw. How are these mountains formed? I get to read the research about this, and that's so incredible. So I think things like the that allow you to experience life in the real world and then also apply that into your academics make you so much more capable of that real world knowledge and scientific thought in the day to day. Because it's an illusion if we say that scientific knowledge is only for the classroom or only for like whatever master's, PhD, academia. It's in your day to day. And it's so valuable to see it in person and actually interact with it and be there. I'll keep reiterating lived experiences because this is the most cool part about this whole thing. Alexia, what about you?
Yeah, I want to echo that. I feel like it's the coolest thing to be able to like go out in the world and yeah, apply what you learn in class and vice versa. Like learn about the world and then come to class and then learn more deeply or like be able to like add on the discussions in class with like the experience that you had in the real world. And kind of like to echo that and to go with like the mountain vibe, I one of my favorite location-based assignments was when I was in Seoul, Korea. I was taking a physics class which we're talking about basically kind of like the physics of sports. Like this is like a very um very sorry words. I'm simplifying it right now, but basically what we had to do was to hike a mountain and then kind of like record different kind of things that our body was going through, like our temperature or like our heart rate or our pulse or our breathing rate, and get gain this data, and then we went back home, and then we got to like write a paper and then go all the way down to like the molecular level and kind of understand what's happening in our body when we are doing exercise. So it was such a cool thing to be able to have the skills to kind of understand what's happening in your body while you do these activities that you might think they're mundane, like walking or like hiking. Like we do them all the time, but we never think about what's actually happening in our body and how amazing it is and how many like regulatory processes we have in order for us to be able to function and to live in the world and adapt and do all these insane things that we are capable of. So yeah, I feel like Anel said, like location-based assignments not like push us to go in the world, but also kind of like bring the world to the class. What about you, Lara? What was your favorite location-based assignment?
Oh, it's been so long. I feel so old now. I remember one that I did also related to geology at the Natural Sciences Museum in Buenos Aires. But there was also a visit to a farm in India that I used for my global health. I think this was not even a natural sciences class, but I kind of mixed it in with my global health and applied economics class from the social sciences major that I was minoring in at the time. But this is awesome. And I feel like this experience is hearing this from the standpoint of someone who, imagining myself as an applicant that hasn't been to Minerva yet, is still thinking whether I should apply. It seems that we have a lot going on that can help us get real world experience that goes beyond just lab work, right? So that's also really good. Um, Curious to know if the both of you have been able to apply scientific reasoning to non-science topics or day-to-day life. If you can think of any examples.
I would love to build on what you said in the beginning about uh the quality of sources. I feel like right now, whenever I'm scrolling on social media or like I hear about like political stuff, I feel it's so hard for me to like believe stuff anymore because I see how research is done and I see how like if only if you like make yourself question whatever is there and have the ability to like critical think every argument, it's actually, yeah, it's harder to believe whatever is online. For example, whenever I don't know. I see like posts about, oh, like this research found out that in order for you to be happy, you have to like do this and that. I'm like, okay, but like how was the research done? And how was, who did it? And like who, funded this research, or like what were the statistical methods that they used? So you can apply kind of like this reasoning and kind of like being, we like to say like being skeptical, but in a good way. You can apply it to like any field. You can apply it to like a friend that's telling me a story. I'm like, okay, but like where do you get your source from? Like it's it's a it's a really interesting way of, I feel like it really builds like your mind and builds your critical thinking skills, and it can be applied to anything, not just science. That's why I really love science and I really love studying math, because I feel like it makes me more uh, organized and rigid and makes me kind of like question down to like the actual, like the smallest part of the argument, and seeing how that interplays in the, yeah, we have my favorite HC is levels of analysis. That's why I'm always like relating to how big stuff are happening from small stuff. But what show now?
Ah, love this answer so much. Okay, you guys, I'm gonna have to go into my graduation thesis topic because this is a big one for me. I'm currently working on it. We call it capstone, and it's taking up 20 hours of my day, okay? Like thought-wise. So I'm gonna have to share. So I'll repeat what I said in the very beginning, in that I chose my majors based on curiosity, nothing else. And it was important to me that I just follow my passion. And only later did I realize the actual intersection between physics and arts. And so now that I'm writing my capstone or doing my capstone, I'm really focused on the specifics of their interaction. And it's something that you really don't necessarily question your day to day. But like, for example, one of my topics is ballet. And there's obvious aesthetic element to that, but there's also a very obvious physics element to how they do the poses, to how the turns are happening. They're so like ballerinas know a lot more about how to engage with physics on a day-to-day. Maybe not the formulas, but the actual movements that allow you to engage in those activities. But so I think one of the big things that scientific reasoning, knowledge, and thought has brought to me is connecting it to curiosity at the baseline of it all. It's so much about asking questions and finding answers and seeing how those two interact. And I think pretty similarly, that goes for arts and humanities as well. And so when we combine those, I think it unlocks so much more potential for seeing beyond what we already know. And having this now background of a bachelor level in physics is so helpful in striving more towards understanding more of the world. So yeah, I mean I see it everywhere now, you guys. It's terrible. Now everything is physics and art, basically. All of the world.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. That's really great. And I completely agree. I think all these things are things that I also notice in my day-to-day life. And I would also like to take this moment to ask you about professional opportunities at Minerva. So when I was a student at Minerva, we had the professional development team. I believe there's a new name now, but it's still the same team and even more things that they help students with. And at the time, they helped me prepare an application for a science research program in food science at Cornell University, which was a big deal for me. It's like an Ivy League institution and like massive, top ranked for food science. And they had this food science summer scholars program. It was very selective. Another friend of mine from Minerva applied, and from a different university also applied, and they didn't get in. But I managed to be selected, and I had such a great time during that summer. I got research experience and lab experience directly at Cornell during those 3 months, so that was great. And I also remember some of my natural sciences peers did some research or shadowed researchers at Hanyang University in South Korea, or at Novartis, which is a biomedical institute in India. I'm curious to know if you have had experiences, professional, like internships related to natural sciences, or things that you did over the summer related to research or to natural sciences in general. Yeah, whoever wants to go first.
I can start us off. Yeah, actually, the whole thing of Minerva not being suitable for labs is, I think, a myth. With enough desire, you can really put yourself in so many different kinds of labs and situations beyond what Minerva already offers as a city connection, which is also readily available for any time you want to engage in that. But for me, so I was reaching out to different professors, and I heard back for somebody who was doing like astrophysics, but specifically in high energy. So we were studying gamma ray bursts. And I heard back from them, and I got an internship for a summer a few years back. And it was a really, I think, formative experience, because now I experienced research as it is done in the day-to-day. And it helped me see what postgrad students were up to and how they were formulating their actual work, how it worked with proposals, how like research funding was granted to them as part of the university that this whole laboratory was under. It also made me rethink how I view my own contribution in science, I think. And that's why these kinds of lab experiences are so special, because then you go off and you say to yourself, okay, so maybe I don't particularly love the exclusive research component. I need something practical. And then maybe that connects to science communication, which I've been really passionate about ever since, and how we present ways in which connections to complex topics can feel accessible. And yeah, I also did NASA research academies. They were like graduation help academies to understand the kinds of work that happens at NASA. And that's an online free like program as long as you get into it. But it's something that also really changed my perception of the workforce as somebody who does science and the kinds of professions that exist. So it really, there's no limit. There's so many things that you can do. And Minerva just provides that kind of foundation for you to be able to go out and do the things, because you now have the frameworks and you possess the skills to be able to apply it into actual real world opportunities, which is the key thing after graduation as well. Alexia, what about you?
I absolutely love your answer. Like it almost is like it really inspired me as well to like go out there and like seek for opportunities and like put myself in in the shoes of different like researchers and see what fits for me and then where do I fit as well. Um I mm, in my case I really love that. I want to echo the fact that uh like location-based assignments and like assignments in general are such a good way to like build your skills but also build resumes. So I heard so many of my fellows like in the natural science major, they basically like they get so deep and they get so passionate about a a, a subject, and then they do like most of their um assignments about it, that they get to like be very knowledgeable in the field, and then they can go ahead and be like, oh, like I really like this lab, let me like reach out to them and then let's see if I can like contribute. So that's how people usually like find their place. In my case, I really liked working with people in the cities. So we have civic projects where you can go and like intern basically for a semester, for a year, depending on your rotation city, and basically get to like have like an internship, which really builds your skill set, but also really helps you build your resume. So I feel like even though I'm a student, I still feel like I can build my resume and have lots of experiences that I can go ahead and like apply for stuff and be like, hey, look, like I'm not just a student, like I also have projects and things that I've done that can recommend me and that can help me like make me like a good candidate for this position. So even though I feel like I'm still very young and I still have a lot of things to learn in the field of biology, I still feel like I have skills that are useful and skills that um are looked for when it comes to like research labs or just opportunities. So it really builds your confidence as well, knowing that you can do such broad stuff and so many stuff in so many countries. So it feels less scary when you go and apply for, as Lara said, like big opportunities.
Yeah, amazing. I love this. Um, and then I think I have two last questions that I would like us to discuss, and then we can open up for Q&A. Um, the first thing is I also did this coffee chat with computer science students, I think yesterday or 2 days ago. And one thing that we were talking about is how at a traditional university, technical courses like, biochemistry, molecular biology, astrophysics, they end up being known to be technical. And so the best way to learn would be to have a lecture, to have a professor come in and lecture you on the topic, to write on the board like equations and everything. And there's a concern that Minerva, we don't have any lectures at Minerva. All of our classes are taught in a seminar-based style, in the flipped classroom model. So students talk more than the professors. Professors ask questions, ask students to solve problems, to make decisions. And there's a lot of peer learning. So we learn from whatever our peers contribute in class. Um, how has your experience been in this active learning format? Do you think this helps you think like a scientist, or do you feel like maybe that technical aspect does require something different, more traditional, maybe? Like, what's your opinion?
I guess start this off. Um, Personally, yeah, at first I was a bit scared because I was like, I'm coming from a traditional high school, so I was like, how can I learn sciences? How can I teach myself this knowledge? Like, I need a professor, as is like write on the board and like have PowerPoints and like explain me stuff. But now I see the benefit in like being able to like teach yourself anything, because when it comes to science, like fields are growing at a really, really fast rate. So there won't be necessarily people out there like teaching you stuff when you go out there in the world. So I feel like this also like helps you be on top of your field, on top of the subject, and also like helps you like gives you the skills to teach yourself anything. So as Anel said, maybe like at some point in your career you want to like pivot, you are able to like go and teach yourself these very technical things because you have the skills to like absorb information but also be able to use it. So I love that Minerva actually focuses more on the using part, on the skill part. We come to class and then we have pre-class work, which where we learn like read materials, learned it, did some exercise, and then we come to class and we use that material. And I feel like especially when you talk to professionals, it's more useful for you to be able to actually use that material than just memorize textbooks. So I think Minerva really makes you like a very active person and a person that knows how to use the information and knows how to apply it and where to get it from and also how to like teach it yourself. So yeah, at first I was scared. I was like, how can I memorize if I don't have tests? Or like, how can I be a skillful, scientist if I there's not someone that teaches me? But now I realize that it's more than just memorization. It's about skills and it's about critical thinking, which I feel like at Minerva we really emphasize on that from like the way we read research papers. It's not about necessarily understanding the research paper, but also like going in depth and be like, okay, let's see how can we like critically think this paper? How can like how can you improve it? What are their methods? Like I feel like that goes beyond of just understanding and goes and like makes you be a more a more individual and a more I guess uh, a person that critically thinks everything they're doing no matter the field. What about you, Anel?
Beautifully said. I really like what you described. I mean, it does sound scary a little bit when you think about it before attending Minerva, but then when you actually experience it, I think it comes down to this big realization. We live in a day and age where any information we could possibly want is at our fingertips. It's so easy to find myriads of online courses of people explaining various, like a million different things. You think about websites like Coursera or even YouTube, like the amount of information that lies on YouTube is insane. And so in the current day and age, it's even more important than ever to understand how to ask the right questions and how to find the right answers. And these are the actual skills that AI won't replace, that any search engine won't replace. This is like the you skill that you can train. And this is what the professors prepare us for. They help us by providing us with like the enough pre-class work activities, enough information before we attend the class. They help us have the right foundation in order to actually go into the analysis part of it, in order to actually go into the problem solving aspect of it. And that's potentially more important than any other thing currently. And more than anything, it allows you to connect with your peers. It allows you to work in groups. It allows you to see how different people think and approach problems. It allows you to grow as a person. Like there's so many benefits to this flipped classroom model, specifically for the natural sciences.
I have nothing else to add. Both of these answers were perfect in terms of how the active learning model can be even more beneficial to a scientist than just lectures. They're so accessible nowadays with Coursera and other online courses. So what we need is really a place where we can be hands-on, right? So that's awesome. So our last question today, and then we're going to jump into the Q&A, is what advice would you give to future students who are considering Minerva as a path towards research or medicine?
Alexia should probably catch the medicine aspect of that question. But I would say for research, or if you're planning to go into any kind of scientific field and you're thinking of coming to Minerva, I would just encourage you to be curious, be open, try to explore as much as you can. Don't put yourself in a box and stay there, because kind of the point of the experience is to get out of that box, to get out of your comfort zone, think about topics you probably have never thought before, and see how that applies into what you already know and what you think you want to learn about more. With any kinds of job that you will have beyond Minerva, or any kind of future that you imagine for yourself beyond Minerva, it is all just part of that journey towards getting there. And ultimately, university is just that skill set that you're building to get there. So it's in your hands. And as long as you are open to the experience and curious about it, I think everything will be great.
I love that, Anel. That was such great advice. Um, I would say something pretty similar. Kind of like don't limit yourself. You don't have to. Like, I came to Minerva and I was like, okay, like you don't necessarily have to like only study the specific curriculum that's gonna help you like go into medical school, because Minerva is so much more in that. Like every interaction with someone on the streets can like inform you and like grow you and like make you a better like person and better doctor in the future. Every experience when it comes to like understanding, I don't know, the mountains or the health disparities in a place, like all of these add on your ability to like understand the world and to understand cultures, and from that you have like a really broad and really strong foundation that you can build on. So don't try to go right in and have like be narrow-minded and be like, okay, I'm only gonna take these courses that are good for my medical degree and nothing else. Because if you're not open to all the experience, um, you might end up, being very professional, at the same time not being able to like step out of your box and understand the world from a critical perspective, not just from a purely like scientific standpoint. So I think what makes the best scientists and doctors, or what makes the best, I guess, leaders, is this ability to be able to think about systems from a complex perspective and also from an interdisciplinary perspective. Yes, I agree that if you're a doctor, yes, you need to know your science, but at the same time, it's so much more beautiful if you understand the culture perspective as well, the literature perspective, the the personal or the philosophical or the psychological perspective behind what the person is. So yeah, I would say just don't try to narrow yourself. Try to like be open and open to any kind of discussion, or open to any kind of like information that's brought in your way, and try to see how that can help you, uh, yeah, in your future.
Amazing. And just to compliment, I think Minerva students are very, they're very driven and they're self-starters. So if you're thinking of, going to grad school after Minerva, if you want to do a master's or PhD, or if you want to become a doctor after Minerva and go to med school, really, it's any university that you attend in the United States is what you make out of the experience. It's not gonna, like, if you go to a traditional university, things are not gonna be hold out to you on a silver platter. You're not going to receive them as easily. You still need to connect with the professors on campus and find a place to intern or to do research. So there's really no point in thinking that it would be easier to go to like a traditional place. I mean, in terms of maybe accessing the same people and same labs every semester, sure. But I've seen that happen at Minerva as well. I always love to use one of my classmates, Nico, as an example. So Nico, every summer, would go back to the same lab, I think at the University of Texas in Austin, and he would work with the same professor, which I'm not sure if it was a connection he made at Minerva or before he went to Minerva, but he would go every summer to the same research group to help and contribute and to learn from them. And in his last year at Minerva, he applied to a couple of PhD programs with the recommendation letter from that professor, and having that in his resume and in his CV. And now he's finishing his PhD in systems biology in Harvard. So that's really a testament that Minerva students can find this research opportunities, this lab opportunities. I know I can also speak for myself. 2 or 3 years ago, I decided to revisit an assignment that I did for one of my classes at Minerva with a little group of students. We were 6 students doing, how do you call it? Those Oxford model classes that at Minerva we call them tutorials. So when you and a smaller group of peers get together to learn about a very specific topic, a niche topic, and we were studying food systems. And our final project was a paper in which we essentially compared and analyzed different diets according to their sustainability level, both for environmental protection, price, and nutritional quality. And I remember that, and I thought, well, that could be published actually. And Minerva gave us a lot of support to get that paper published with our names. I'm the lead author of that paper. In a traditional university, the lead author would likely be the professor that worked with me or the PhD student that I assisted, right? So there's kind of that ego fight, which does not happen at Minerva because they really want students to succeed and to have credentials and to and to go out in the world and spread the word that Minerva is really a nice place to do science. So there is a lot of support for publishing, for going to grad school, and later on for medical school as well. We're gonna get into our Q&A section now. Santoma is asking, what advice would you give to someone intending to study pharmacy or pharmaceuticals in the future, but wants to start at Minerva? That's a really good question. I took one of the courses that I took I think it was a core class in the natural sciences major at the time that I was at Minerva, was a drug discovery class, which was so interesting. We really learned about the components of research that helps researchers find out about drug development and new drugs. So that was awesome. And then, yeah, so my advice would be start at Minerva. You're going to have the core classes in your first year. And then every assignment that you do, sometimes you can choose what the assignment's going to be on, because the assignment's kind of about applying the skills, not necessarily a specific topic. So start by picking topics that are related to pharmacy and pharmaceuticals that you could explore on those assignments, even if it's for an arts class or if it's for a formal analysis, computer science class, you can still choose sometimes what topics you're going to cover. Every city that you go to in the Minerva rotation, let the student experience team know that you are interested in learning about pharmacy and pharmaceuticals. Minerva has civic partners in every city that students live in. Civic partners are organizations, NGOs, businesses, companies, even governmental agencies sometimes, that students can intern or do volunteer work or just observe, do a shadowing experience. I believe you guys are still students, so you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Fridays are still off. Students don't have classes on Fridays, so they can develop the civic projects and partnerships during the week as well when you're not having class. So make sure that you are going to search in each city for people that could provide you a pharmaceutical experience, such as the Novartis Institute in Hyderabad. I remember one of my peers did an internship there, which was great. And then use your summer strategically would be my last advice, to get the research experience full-time that you wouldn't be able to get even at a traditional place. You'd still have full-time classes during your semester. So during the summer, that's the time where you start building those skills full-time and having the experience of how it is to be a researcher full-time. And take advantage that in the United States, with your F1 visa, if you have the F1 visa status as an international student, you can go back to the US and do summer internships throughout, your entire summer at pharmaceutical companies or research labs that are doing pharmacy work that you're interested in. This should all prepare you to have a strong CV to then apply for master's or PhD programs related to pharmacy. Anel and Alexia, feel free to build on that if you also have tips for someone who wants to do pharmacy.
I actually really wanted to answer Ayan's question. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Alexia, did you have anything to add to this question? Okay. I think because the question of where you're able to get research opportunities is a really big one. And while, like Lara mentioned, it is a big opportunity to do it in the US because we are a US-based institution and therefore we are on the US student visa. It allows us to work over the summer, to get additional experiences as part of our kind of visa package, I guess. But it is possible to do internships or research opportunities in other places. The question is, like, for example, civic projects are the projects that you do in a city that are organized by Minerva, and those are completely available to you in pretty much any time that you're at Minerva except your final year, and that provides you a great gateway to research opportunities. You can also find your own research opportunities in different Minerva cities. However, oftentimes on our visas for the particular rotation cities that we're in, it's not allowed to work. So you have to organize it just as like a volunteer-based opportunity to help out a professor or a lab that you want to or that you're interested in. If you, however, are if your citizenship allows for like work opportunities in other places, that's still very much a possibility. It's not like it's restricted per se. Like if you are willing to put in the work and your employer is willing to put in the work, you can totally get a summer opportunity in Germany or in Taiwan, like wherever you want to, really. It's just a matter of how much you're willing to put in.
Awesome. This is great. And I just wrote this as an answer to Ayan as well. Minerva students can do CPT over the summer. That means you don't have to use your OPT hours or period during the summer, which a lot of US universities will ask international students to do. So you can do CPT work during the summers for any US-based institution as long as it's in your intended field of study. And then after you graduate, you can still do your OPT for a year. And if you are in a STEM field, which natural sciences students are, then you can do additional 2 years of the STEM OPT extension. I mean, with Trump and the crazy policies that he's been instituting, we never know what the future in the United States is going to look like for international students. But so far, this has become consistent. Minerva students can work in the US every summer, and then after they graduate with CPT and OPT. During the school year, you can only work for Minerva, and this is true for any American institution. So if you go to Harvard, if you go to Yale, you can also only work for those institutions during the school year. It's a F1 visa rule, not a Minerva rule. And a follow-up question to the pharmacy question by Santoma is which major do we suggest? Well, natural sciences, the best major, right? Everyone, best major at Minerva, yay. But within natural sciences, I would recommend focusing on, I don't remember the name of the concentrations now, but I think there is like molecules and atoms, which is going to be important to have the molecular base of pharmaceuticals. Back when I was at Minerva, we also had a biochemistry concentration that I don't remember the name, but those like molecular biology and biochemistry concentrations would be the most interesting for you as a pharmaceutical student. I would also say to complement that with a minor in the computer sciences major or even the business major, just so you know what the business aspect of medicine, right, of medication looks like, or the computer science, if you're more interested in the drug development aspect, there's a lot of bioinformatic tools you can use. If you're more interested in the business aspect, definitely a minor in that as well. Yeah. Yes, molecules and atoms is now called matter and energy. Okay, equivalent of physics. That's also great. Yeah, cells and organisms, I think it's the molecular biology and biochemistry concentration. So that would be the most interesting. Well, we're running out of time. I want to thank both Alexia and Anel for being here today. If you guys need more information about financial aid, I saw there were some questions about it. We left you links to our website where you can read about our need-based financial aid policy, because this is not related to the natural sciences major that we were discussing today. We're not going to go in depth. Yeah, so you can find more information about the scholarships on our website. Yes, and Anel is bringing a very important point in the chat, which is you can always change your major or concentration as long as there's sufficient time for you to reroute your schedule with your professor. But every Minerva student has an advisor that helps them decide the classes they're taking from the very first year. And if you need to change your major, if you decide to do something else, your advisor will help you with that. So Minerva really offers you support with that. Can you triple major? That's a great question. I don't think so, because you don't even have enough time to fulfill all the credits for a third major. A double major is already challenging enough. So I don't think at Minerva you could triple major, but you could do a double major, a major, and a minor. I believe maybe even a double major in additional electives in other fields, but not a triple major. Okay. Awesome. Have a great rest of your day or evening. And yeah, that's it. Bye-bye.